the new thinking really has to be either we don't trust people and we asymptomatically test everybody. But the World Health Organization, as of June 25th, says no asymptomatic testing. The FDA has never cleared these tests for asymptomatic testing. The CDC doesn't give a green light to do this. Asymptomatic testing, and people like you and me, we just walked in, we have asymptomatic testing, that if we get a positive, the chances that positive is false positive is 97%.
97%. And that is if you're asymptomatic.
Completely asymptomatic. And to make matters worse, so many of us have already had COVID-19. And now our CDC admits, finally through a Freedom of Information Act, lead attorney Aaron Siri pressed the CDC and said, listen, you're saying you can get COVID twice. Show us a case. Show us a case. Pressed. Finally, the CDC director came out and said, you know what? You can't get it twice. We've never had a single case.
But I have a friend that got it twice.
What you have is you have a friend who thinks he had it twice. What happened is, on one or more occasions, it's a false positive test, or he actually had the dead virus that he's carrying forward. Somebody in my family circles had COVID-19, for sure had it, got sick. That person tested positive intermittently 17 times.
Yeah, but this wasn't just a test positive. He got sick, he recovered, and then about 7-8 months later, he got sick again, tested positive again, and had a much milder case of it, but still got COVID twice.
Yeah, it wasn't a second case. This is what's happened.
For sure?
Yeah, there's about 100 purported cases like this in the literature. I've looked at them all. What happens is we would need a rigorous definition of, put it this way, if you could get COVID-19 twice, we would have seen hundreds of millions of cases. Do you know how susceptible the elderly are? This would have swept through the nursing homes over and over again. We would have seen grandmothers on the ventilator 16 times. I'm telling you right now, you can't get it twice. The criteria are, and this is the reason why the CDC says it can't happen. The criteria would be that you have a positive PCR test at a low cycle threshold, less than 28. You're positive on the antigen immunoassay test, so the nucleocapsid is there, and you do sequencing, and you can actually find the virus sequence there. Now, you do that on 2 occasions. You do that on one occasion, and someone's really sick and has the characteristic signs and symptoms, and you do it again 6 months later, then you actually have the first case of recurrent infection of COVID-19. There's nothing that meets that rigor. To make matters worse, the CDC has now admitted that the methodology they used for the PCR originally, the CDC methodology that was distributed to all the departments of community health and where the laboratory derived assays for the health systems in the early parts of the pandemic, cannot distinguish between flu and on COVID-19. So invariably, someone had flu on occasion 1 and tested positive and was pretty sick, and then they had COVID-19 the second time.
Or vice versa, right?